Well, hello there, this is Dan, and this video is basically a follow-up to my previous one where I showed my setup for guitar, and I wanted to talk about why I stopped using plugins and why I built this setup. But I decided that this video is too long, so I split this into parts, and this is basically the part 2, and I'm gonna link the previous one somewhere here. First of all, I want to say that I think that plugins sound cool and not even better than the hardware. It's easy to dial in, they're cheap, and they basically give you several thousands euros of equipment for 100 or something like that. And it's really cool. But there's one thing that was bothering me for a while already, and this thing is palm mutes. For some reason, I've never found a plugin that does palm mutes good. At least they don't feel good. And the response, the feedback that you get when you're playing is really important, at least to me. And I really want to have this tight, kind of natural palm mutes when I'm doing them. And at some points, I noticed that I'm avoiding palm mutes while playing through plugins. And I thought about it, and I understood that this is because I don't like how they feel and how they sound. So let me try to show you what I mean. I'm not sure it will translate to the recording really well, but it feels, the difference feels really well when you're playing through plugins or through something real. Right now I'm plugged into my analog rig, so this is how it would sound when I play it through the real thing. And because I don't have enough inputs in my sound card, I have to do some shenanigans, so I can't switch right away. It requires some time. So, and this is 14 nameless, and I'll try to play something similar to what I played. Let's try Gajira as well. Let's try to switch back to the analog gear again. So to me, the difference is huge, and I'm not sure why it's such a big deal to play palm mutes through plugins, and they don't sound that great, and they don't feel that great. What's most important to me. To me, it just sounds like plugin doesn't know what to do with it. When you play through the real amplifier, you get the feeling like you're playing the muted strings, so they really sound muted. They are tight and focused. And through plugin, they're just disintegrated in a sort. I don't know if it makes sense, but this is just something that was bothering me it doesn't matter that much in a mix, because in modern music and modern metal, you often play palm mutes alongside with the bass drum, and bass drum is basically really, really loud. And you hear bass drum with some presence of the guitars, but it does make a difference. And I can recommend you listen to the band called Alluvial. Wes, the guitarist of this band, he records his stuff through real amplifiers, and you can hear how different the tone from what you used to in the most of modern metal. So just try to listen, because he has the palm mutes, right? And palm mutes are great. And to talk about other reasons, I first need to tell how I found out about them. So basically, I've recorded a huge album by myself, 11 songs. It's almost an hour long. And I wrote the music, recorded the guitars, quad tracks for rhythms, double tracks for cleans, and all that stuff. I wrote the lyrics, the vocal lines, I recorded the bass, I recorded vocals. So basically, I did an album by myself, except for the mixing. And the problem that I didn't have fun playing guitar. I mean, I was playing bass through direct monitoring using my pedals for a while, and it's really fun to do. You don't have any latency, the response is great, and I was just having fun playing bass. And I did the same for vocals at some point. I'm just using the compressor inside UAD, my interface. And if you don't know, basically UAD interfaces, they allow you to load the plugin in a sort inside the hardware. So they like multi-effects processor. So you don't use your computer to use the plugin, but you use your hardware to use the plugin. Something like that. And I was recording vocals and just doing vocals through direct monitoring as well. And in the end, we have the guitar that I was playing through plugins. And when you have huge projects, like you have lots of vocal tracks, you have quad track for rhythms, you have tracks for different leads, and all in all, it gets really hard at some point to record, because I want to have the lowest latency possible, because of the music I play, it's really important to be tight. So to be tight, you have to have low latency, basically. And sometimes the project would freeze, it would break, some weird noises or stuff like that. And I have a pretty powerful machine over there. So, and it's also a core audio, it's Apple stuff, so it should work great, but even that doesn't handle my approach. So I don't want to switch to different modes, like change the buffer size to something to work on something, then change back, then change again. That's not really fun. That's not creative. I like to make music, so I don't want to be distracted by all this stuff that just doesn't work. So when I do music, I want my gear to work. It wasn't working the way I wanted to, basically. And in the end, I also didn't have fun, so I started to perceive guitar as a means to an end, just to finish the job. I wasn't playing it for fun in the end. I still enjoyed playing guitar, right? And I do love M80M. It's the best guitar for me. It always excites me. But it excites me for some time, and then you have to deal with all of that. And it's sad. And it's really sad. The issue here is latency, of course. And even if your computer tells you that you have pretty low latency, which should be fine, I think you have to keep in mind that, at least from my experience and in my opinion, it looks like it's not consistent. It really depends on the load of your CPU, of your hard drive, if you're recording at the moment. And it really depends, so it may change. And also the plugin that you're using, It also matters a lot. And I think the most popular ones are neural DSP right now. And I don't think they have their latency sorted out pretty well, because it has some noticeable latency in my opinion. And if you Google something on YouTube, I think you can find people testing out their latency, or at least for quad cortex, I did find something. And if I remember correctly, each block in quad cortex adds 2 milliseconds of latency or something like that. So it's kind of sad. Technology has gone so far, but uh, not really that much, to be honest. But yeah, we're getting some cool sounds, but I think that still plugins are for production. They're for music producers. They are not for guitar players. So yeah, like me, I don't like production. And I think this is the reason why I did all these videos where I play guitar and it's not mixed, just the raw tracks, because this is what I like to do. I like to create music. I don't like production. And plugins are for production. They are not for playing. At least this is my opinion now, after the years and years. And I'm also think that this is a matter of quantity, because I did this before. I've recorded music like that before. I also did quad tracks. I used plugins for everything and stuff. But when you record an EP that consists of 3 songs, it's different from when you record an album that lasts for an hour, and it's pretty complex. At least for me, this was the most complex songs that I wrote in my life, so it was challenging. And another aspect that I figured out is pure the psychological aspect. When you record through plugins, you record your DI, and I was stressing over my DI. I basically stopped listening to it, almost stopped to listen to it. I was listening with my eyes. So when I record the take, instead of listening to it, I just check it with my eyes before, if it's tight enough, if the loudness or attack is great and all that stuff. And I didn't even listen to it. And then I will delete it and record a new one until my eyes are satisfied. But what you really need to do is you need to listen, and that's it. If it sounds okay, then it's okay. You don't need to stress over your transients and stuff. That this is useless. And I also did find out that I'm a better player than I thought. And I think because of the latency, I sound tight without any editing and all that stuff, recording in one take. And I sound tight. And I didn't think I was capable of that before. Because when I played through plugins, I wasn't tight enough, right? But then I switched, and suddenly I can play. That's a discovery. So yeah, that's pure, I think, mostly psychological aspect to it. And I'm also a gearhead. I like to turn knobs and all this physical stuff, to press buttons. It gives me some happy chemicals, you know. And turning knobs in plugins doesn't really give me happy chemicals. And happy chemicals are great. I need some tea. And of course, another thing is uniqueness, because anybody can have a plugin, right? Anybody can sound like a plugin. Anybody can find a preset. Anybody can dial in some great tone. And it's basically really easy. I don't know. I usually spend like 10 minutes in a plugin figuring out the tone. It's so easy that it's boring. And I wanted something different. So, you know, you kind of color your amplifier with your pedals. You change the settings here and there. And the real thing is always a bit more unique. Even if you get the same amplifier, the same guitar, it will be a bit different. Just because of physical qualities. And especially if you buy something that is hand-built, like, you know, my Victory V4, they are hand-built amplifiers in England. So that's cool. And some boutique pedals, Fortin. They are not a big corporation with mass production, right? And I also have another clean boost, which is also hand built here in Germany. And yeah, the uniqueness is also important, I think, because when you play metal and heavy music or rock music, your tone is the part of what you're doing, right? You cannot just use the notes or the rhythms. You also have to have your sound, and your sound consists of many elements. Your playing, your guitar, all that stuff, but it also consists of your gear, the actual gear that produces the sound that you hear in the end. And this is also important. So yeah, uniqueness is also a factor for me to stop using the plugins. I think that concludes the video. I hope it will be a shorter one. At least I will try to make this video a shorter one on the editing stage. And strings video next. Guys who watched the video about my tone said that they will be interested in such a thing. So I'm gonna talk about strings in my next video. Bye.